Hey everyone, welcome back to our In Between Seasons series here on My Mama Done Told Me. While we're getting ready for season 2, I'm sharing a few episodes from other shows I've been lucky enough to be a part of. Today's episode comes from a show called Disability After Dark. This is an incredible podcast hosted by my friend Andrew Gurza. Andrew's an activist, storyteller, disability advocate. He's doing some amazing work, and he just released a new book called Notes from a Queer Cripple: How to Cultivate Queer Disabled Joy and Be Hot While Doing It. So go grab a copy, support his work. Definitely subscribe to Disability After Dark if you aren't already tuned into that. In this episode of his show, I was a guest on a segment called Popcorn and Powerchairs, where we reviewed and discussed the movie The Peanut Butter Falcon. It's a great movie. It's heartfelt. It's about adventure. It's about friendship. And there's some disability there. One of the main characters has Down syndrome, and kind of his relationship and all of that. It's really cool. And Andrew and I have a great conversation unpacking all of that. If you want more Andrew Gurza in your life, and I suggest that, we have an episode of My Mama Done Told Me featuring Andrew, so go look that one up. He also guested on Talkumentary back in the day, so plenty of places to find him. All right, enough from me. Enjoy Popcorn and Powerchairs with Andrew Gurza.
Jeff Kolaski, hi.
Hello, sir.
How are you, friend?
Good. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thanks for being here. Usually I do, this is a segment that we do on the show called Popcorn and Powerchairs, and you are the first ever guest, I think, to be a part of this segment. So hello.
Hello. I'm honored to be a part of the first guest experience. I know I listened to your Popcorn and Powerchairs, and I always think like, oh, I should listen to an episode to see how Andrew interacts with their guests, on the show. I'm like, wait, there's never any guests on the show. Cool. So I get to
you're
help
the
pay
first one.
the way. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to it.
No, it's such a pleasure. We did an episode of your show, Talkumentary, a few months ago. And it feels like such a long time ago. Wasn't that before like Thanksgiving? Wasn't it like October?
Let's see. So we are way ahead on our show. Like we recorded way in advance. So it came out, I think, in like,
I don't know. It came out in like November. I don't even remember.
Yeah. And so, but anyway, a couple months ago, that'll work.
That's cool. No. Do you want to tell the people what your show's about and what you do? And
Sure. Yeah. So I'm the host of a show called Talkumentary, and we, just like our tagline says, we watch documentaries and then get together and talk about them. And we did a couple months ago, we did the documentary called Crip Camp, and you were gracious enough to join our crew for that episode. And I thought it went really well, and that still to this day continues to be. So we did a little reel, where you were talking about some of the joy that we saw in, Judy Human and all that in that documentary, and that's, I think, probably my most watched reel that we put out.
Oh, that's cool. That always makes me happy because I never know what goes viral, and especially, in this day and age, it's like, I don't want anything to go viral. It's scary to have so go viral now because it's like, oh no, what did they say what? So I never know, but that's nice.
Yeah, so I would say we're probably far from viral because that's, we don't have those kind of viewers on our stuff, but we still got a good amount of.
Well, don't worry. Virality is. I never want that kind of numbers. It's too scary. No way.
Yeah, there's a reason it's called viral. Nobody really wants that, right?
Yeah. Like you think you do, but then it's like, all right, I'm good. It's all right. Thanks.
Yeah. No, thank you. I don't need to be under a microscope like that.
Say again?
I just said I don't need to be under a microscope like that.
No. The more and more I do social media, the less and less I want to do social media. I'm just like, okay, well, this is not all right. Cool.
Yep.
But we're gonna watch a movie which you've by this time, I think I haven't edited it yet. Editing Andrew will know what he's doing, but I think you've heard the trailer for it. We're gonna do the Peanut Butter Falcon. It's a movie about disability, and I thought, why not bring Jeff on from a non-disabled perspective to join me and talk about it. Wow, lost my train of thought. I was gonna go swear that it disappeared.
Right.
So really, really happy you're here. Let's dive into the film.
Here. Yeah, this film for me, this is the second time that I've watched it, and you reached out and kind of asked me, is there a film that you'd want to cover? And I started thinking about films that I'd seen. We do documentaries on our show, so I kind of thought it would be fun to do something that's nonfiction, that is fiction instead of nonfiction.
Yeah.
But kind of, portrays sort of that relationship. And, there's a lot of things about this film, and I'm sure you'll get into it, but a lot of things about this film that resonate with me, and we can get into some of some of those things are if you want to. And I'm, as I'm watching this film, knowing that we're going to cover it for your show, I'm sort of like, I was watching it trying to watch it through the lens of, I listen to your podcast, and I let me try to watch this through the lens of disability and how this could be viewed by somebody with disabilities, and, kind of check my own ableism and in this relationship, because on first watch, my first, not to get too far ahead, hopefully, I'm sure you've got your own, your ways of doing your show, but not to get too far ahead, but on first watch,
jump right in. Don't even worry. Go right in.
Okay. It's really feel good. I on the surface, probably from the I don't want to say uneducated, but just I liked the relationship of the two main characters, for a lot of reasons. And I'm so interested to know where maybe what I'm overlooking when watching this, things that might not jump out to me, that may jump out to you, Andrew, or to some of your listeners, in this film. So
yeah, no, there was a lot that I liked about it, and I definitely watched it from the perspective of I just watched it. Usually I take a bunch of notes, but I was like, I'd rather just talk with Jeff when we get on. So I didn't bother with the notes at all last night. I just watched it to watch it for
good
entertainment. I took 1 or 2 notes to be like, all right, here's some things I'll jot down to talk about. I really liked it because, and we'll get into it, it's a movie about 2 lost people who are trying to find something about themselves. And so I like that aspect. And I liked for once disability was in there, and I liked that the first thing I'll say, the first point that gets a big point for me is that they cast a disabled actor in the film. So the film is about somebody with Down syndrome who runs away from their retirement home. His name is Zach. He runs away from his retirement home, and he is a young person. So he's like 20, he's 22. 22.
Yeah, I think they said he was 22 in the film, yeah.
Yeah, he's a young guy living in a retirement home because his family couldn't take care of him or chose to leave him there. And when I was doing research on that, the very first scene we meet Zach, he's in the retirement home and he's planning to escape. And so when I looked it up and I found out that in Ontario, where I live, Ontario, Canada, there are 2,900 people living in long-term care homes who are below the age of 65, which means that what was happening to him happens to a lot of people in real life. And I was shocked.
I am too, hearing you say that. And I was curious. I didn't look it up on my own, but I was curious because so they went to Florida in this, and I don't remember where they said they started journey, which state in the US, but it was a southern kind of state. And from context clues in the film, it seemed like Zach's character, which I like that the actor's name is Zach, and so is his character. It makes it really easy to talk about. But his character was, like you said, for some reason not being taken care of by his family, or wasn't able to be taken care of by his family. And it's really sad kind of to see that, this is what was available to or help for him,
and like putting him in a room. He's 22.
Yeah.
Putting him in a room with like 80-year-old men, and like, his big thing is, if I give you a pudding cup, will you let me run out of the nurse? Like that's, and it was hard. I mean, it was funny and I laughed at it. It was great, a funny scene, but like to watch, to know that there are people in real life who are disabled under 30 living in like old seniors homes because the state has nowhere to put them.
Yep.
It's like really scary. It's, whoa, what are we doing?
Yeah. So a question that I have, and I'm not expecting you to have the answer for that, but what's like, okay, so I have a cousin who has Down syndrome, and I don't know the right terminology, so forgive me if I screw it up, but I would consider him, there is a spectrum in the Down syndrome community where more, I guess, functional, and then you need a little bit more help, and then to where you almost can't take care of daily function on your own. And my cousin falls more in the more severe side, I guess, if that's the right terminology, to where he's still living with my aging aunt and uncle, and pretty soon, that's going to become more difficult and more difficult. And I guess my question is, what's best case scenario in that situation? Zach doesn't have a family structure that can take care of him. Thankfully, spoiler alert, he gets that in the movie. But what's best case scenario there? Is there housing? Is it community living that's more directed toward that as opposed to the aging elderly?
What state are you in again? I don't remember.
I'm in Nebraska in the United States.
Yeah, so it's probably really crappy there, realistically. I'm just guessing from what I honestly don't know, but it's probably something very similar to what we saw in the film. The hope would be that he could get into some community housing that helps people with Down syndrome, but a lot of people with intellectual disabilities who have no family are placed in programs like that are basically institutions. And so, like, we didn't see a lot of Zach's home life in the first 10 minutes of the film. We saw that he wants to escape from the home, and he tried once and they caught him. And then he came back and we see that he wants to go to like wrestling school to meet, what was the guy's name? Saltwater Redneck?
Saltwater Redneck.
Yeah, that's right. He wanted to meet the wrestler. And so like then his roommate, who's an 80-year-old man, says, well, let me grease the bars up for you, and you just slide right out of there and you run away. Which I thought was funny.
Engineer. Yeah.
I thought it was really funny that like the old man was helping him escape and be like, go, be free. Like I thought it was funny, but also like I found it kind of interesting that in the film, and I think they did this for drama, like nobody really starts looking for him except for that one care coordinator. And I was like, why isn't the whole place like freaking out that he's not there?
Right. And, they did mention, so I used to work in a senior care centers. I actually there was two different centers that I used to work at, skilled nursing facilities. And, it was a big deal. Flight risks or, that sort of thing. You have to be, they call it elopement when, somebody either willingly or accidentally because of dementia or anything like that, kind of wanders off. And it is a big deal. And, you get the feeling, and through the context clues when Eleanor is speaking to her boss, I guess, where he's like, you better find him before I report this to the state. And she's like, no, you have to report this to the state.
Like you should be. Yeah, like what do you mean you're not reporting it to the state?
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, just find him." And you get the idea that this guy doesn't want to be in trouble for whatever. And obviously, like you mentioned, a lot of that's just to add drama. And realistically, does that happen? Maybe. We don't know what part of the states this is in for sure,
I
or
think it's
what
like
the
North
quality of it.
Carolina or like somewhere like that.
Yeah, yeah,
But like
and
they must in real life. You like if somebody went missing, everything stops and you find the person. Like what? No, what?
yeah, yeah, yep. So that you wonder how much of that's written in just for the sake of drama. And that's the hard part about films like this, is knowing, you know, having to suspend some of your disbelief, I guess, to to get on with the story. But
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, what was most arresting of it, and I hope this doesn't sound ableist when I say it, but it was really nice to see somebody with Down syndrome given such a full role, and it was really nice to see him just kill it. Like he knew what to do.
oh, great.
He was right there, and it was like
Yep.
because we have these ableist ideas about people with intellectual disabilities and what they can and can't do, and to see him like do exactly what he had to do. What was the role? How do you do it? Like, and again, that's my own ableism coming out when I say that. But I remember,
Mm.
like, when I was watching it last night, I was like, this is really cool. This kid's a better actor than also like non-intellectually disabled actors I see.
Right. Absolutely. Some of whom were in this movie.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I am personally a big fan, not necessarily, he's had the controversy around Shia LaBeouf, some of the stuff that he may or may not have done or said or what, I am not here to speak to that. I'm not TMZ, but the, but he is a phenomenal actor in my opinion. And I thought that his relationship with Zach throughout this whole thing, they played off each other like they were best buds.
Yeah, they really did.
But they did such a good job at that. And I think if I read a few articles, I guess they actually did real life, they maintain a friendship, which is pretty cool. Um, but one of the things probably that stood out to me the most um, about their relationship was Tyler was LaBeouf's character in this. Tyler was so adamant that Zach, from the very beginning, from the first time you met him, he never once talked to him like he was any less than or any less able to do the
Never
same thing
was.
that
I mean,
he was
he
doing.
treated him like a bit of an asshole at the beginning, but
Yeah, which
he would have done that to anybody, really.
exactly. Yeah.
And then, so if you have not watched the movie yet, you should pause here and watch the movie, and then come back to listen to this.
Sorry, I'm spoilers all over the place.
We're just going straight in. So just if you haven't watched yet and you're like, what the fuck, watch the movie right now. I'm pretty sure it's available on
Prime.
It's on Prime in the U.S. and probably other places everywhere. But just find the movie and watch it first because we're going straight in, and then we're just gonna just dive right in. So he runs away, stows away on a boat, meets Tyler. Tyler is running away from like bad shrimpers. I couldn't really tell who they were. I was like, I guess they're just bad guys.
Crab fishermen. Yeah. So the way I got it, Tyler was a crab. He was stealing crab pots, and that's a big no-no in that world because that's your livelihood. And these guys found out about it, and came after him, and he burned some of their stuff.
Yeah, and that's basically like he has to run away from them.
The bad guy.
Yeah. It's really, I like the way they set it up. It's very buddy cop almost, like buddy. Like there was no big plot. The plot was he's running away from the group home, Zach, and Tyler's running away from the bad guys. That was literally the plot. There was nothing else there, and I liked it because it was very simple to follow.
Yeah, it's very Huck Finn, that kind of, Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn kind of thing where it's we're trying to get away, we're gonna literally float down the river, buddy cop movie.
Yeah, it really is. I like that because we don't often see a disability buddy cop movie ever, and like this was basically that, and it was really kind of neat to see that.
especially like you mentioned early on, not to just repeat your words, but especially with somebody who is given a starring role who actually has an intellectual disability.
Yeah.
I think of the movies, I can't remember what it's called, but there was a movie that came out within the last couple of years, but it was Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
Kevin
I reviewed it for the show.
Okay.
It was The Upside.
Yeah, yeah. And
I
I'm
hated
sure.
that movie for reasons.
Did you? Okay, I never
had
saw
reasons.
it. Yeah. So I never saw it, so I can't speak to the movie itself, but I'm going, you've got a you've got, a lot of people out there that I'm sure would be more than capable to fill this role and represent a whole community that are more than capable to do just as good or not, or if not better, role of Bryan Cranston. Not to take anything from him because I think he's
No,
great.
I'll take a lot away from him. Don't worry. You don't have to.
Okay.
I'll do it. I'll take it all away because when he did that role, and I said this in the episode of the show, when he did that role, people said to him like, "Hey, you realize you're taking a role away from a disabled person," and he said, "Oh no, it was just a business decision, so I made it." And it was like, "Wow, okay, well, I'm not paying money I won't pay money to see your film." Like
that's unfortunate. I hate hearing that, but
like,
I'm sure it happens more than
yeah,
I'd like
it
to.
probably really does. But to see this Zach actor and the character be in the role so fully was really nice. One of the things that I noted right at the beginning, before he stows away in the boat and before he meets Zach, within the first 5 minutes, the night nurse is calling him a retard, and I was like, okay, that was, and I use that word sparingly because I know it's not a word that we enjoy in the disability space. But when I heard that, I literally went, "Oh, okay, we're just throwing retard around like there's no problem. All right, great."
Right. Yeah. And I think it really, they didn't spend a lot of time in the retirement community, and you kind of, when he first runs away and you see how hard that dude tackles him, as he's running out of the building.
Yeah.
And then he calls him that word when these, say it's lights out, and whatever. Like, dude, he's 22 years old. Isn't it lights out? Like
what? Leave him alone.
What? Yeah, like he can stay up and watch wrestling videos all night if he wants. Like there's no rule saying he has to go to bed. He's not in prison. And so it shows you, I think it gives us a taste of probably what a lot of people deal with, but also why he would so desperately want to run away.
And it's funny that you just said he's not in prison, but in the second scene after they tackle him, they put bars on the windows. So he literally is in prison. And he he literally has to get out of there. And so I just thought, the way, and I just thought using that word in 2024 and hearing it in 2024, even in a movie that was made in 2019, was like, okay, wow, this word has a lot of connotation still, and we really have to I know why they did it. I know why it was a dramatic choice. I get that. But hearing it, I paused and was like, oh, I don't love that. And they didn't only just do it once. There was one or two more times in the film where they use it. And every time I had to be like, I don't love it. Like, could we pick another word? Could we try stupid? Could we any other word?
Right. Yep. Yeah. And, that was kind of it's an interesting choice. Like you said, like you could use other words and whatnot. And I'm sure it was just, let's show what somebody going through this might experience, especially in that part of the country. I come from the Midwest, which is, typically more known as sort of the vanilla, kind of, just middle of the road, no accent, no nothing. We're just, I
heard the Midwesterner in your voice for a minute. I was like, I definitely heard the ope. I was like, it's in there. It's there. There it is.
It's in there for sure. But we have, but he was in the South, and in the South, I'm just going to go ahead out there and say it. In a lot of ways, a lot of the people can be very behind the times when it comes to progression and open-mindedness and acceptance. I mean, historically, the acceptance for whether it's race or gender or disability or, you know, LGBTQIA or anything like that, it's pretty accepting. Now, that's not to say there's nobody from the South that, you know, but I would say that most of them would even say, yeah, majority, especially if you're in backwoods kind of areas where they were kind of spending a lot of time in this film. You know, you've got the little shit-eating kid on top of the diving board trying to get him to trying to get Zach to jump into the water.
Yeah.
I thought Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You.
I was gonna say one of the most satisfying spots in this movie was when Shia LaBeouf punched that little kid in the mouth. I don't know.
I did think that was rather satisfying. I was like, oh yeah, that kid deserves it. Good.
Yeah, that kid deserves a pop in the mouth for sure.
And like, I like how Shia LaBeouf, like I like how right away when they meet each other and they're on the boat running from the other crab people. That's not crab people that do crab stuff, whoever they are. Those people, when they're running away,
the crabby ass.
Yeah, the crabby people, when they're running away from the crabby people, Zach's the very first thing he says is, and you can tell that he's obviously been taught to say this to people, so they get to know. He says, I'm a Down syndrome person. Here's what here's who I am. And Tyler right away is like, shut up, we're just going, like, I don't care, whatever. Like, but he never once said, oh, that's the problem. He never once was like, oh, it's an issue. He just was like, okay, you have Down syndrome, let's go.
Right. Yeah, I think he actually literally said, I don't really care. Like,
yeah,
like, I don't give a fuck. Like, shut up. I don't care what you're dealing with here. Like,
come on.
If you're coming with me, you come with me. You don't slow me down. You know, that's rule number one.
Yeah. And I like how like there's a whole bunch of montages in the film where they would repeat those rules and they would repeat like that kind of stuff and they would show them getting closer. And I just like how they did that because it was very reminiscent of like all those 80s, 90s films. It was very much like that.
Yeah.
I like that style so much. It was so simple, such a simple concept.
Yep. And nostalgic, you know, it's kind of, you know, there's nothing as far as the story itself, there's nothing, you know, groundbreaking about.
The story is super boring.
Right.
I wants to go to wrestling school and the other guy's running away. Like, the story is okay, whatever.
They team up. They don't get along at first. The guy, you know, they decide to do it anyway. You know, that's happened countless times in film. But, you know, this just has a way of doing it that, you know, it just feels so wholesome in a lot of ways. And also you're rooting for these characters so hard by the end of it that, you know, there's a lot of bad things, like dumb filmmaking decisions about this film, in my opinion, you know, like,
oh, tell me, I want to hear.
Oh, well, okay. So first of all, the whole scene, the whole thing with the quote unquote bad guys, like following them and stuff, it's just dumb. Like,
yeah,
how would you find them? Like, all of that. How would she have found them? You know, I mean, I get it, it's part of the story, but that's there's just some.
And she also is like an unnecessary character. She's so boring. I'm like, oh, why do you need to be there? Why you're so boring.
Right. Yeah. I could have done, honestly, without pretty much any of that. I get it. They probably wanted to add the drama, to add the intensity, you know, and in the classic,
to make it a buddy film. Yeah. I get it totally.
You know, and all that, but it would have been fine if they were both running away. They got away. They went to the wrestling school, you know. And I grew up a pro wrestling fan. I was a pro wrestling fan into my adulthood.
I thought you were a pro wrestler. I was gonna be like, whoa, tell me more about that.
Whoa. No, I am not. I've never been. I'm tall enough, but not strong enough.
I mean, you have the tattoos for it though. I mean,
true. It's true.
I didn't know you were like a nice dude, I'd be like, all right, you can probably beat me up.
No, I doubt it. But anyway, so so the guy Samson, the guy that he fights with in the ring, that ends up becoming kind of an asshole. He Have you ever heard of Jake the Snake Roberts?
I have. Maybe it's because I've heard people say Jake the Snake a lot.
Yeah,
Maybe I have.
yeah,
Maybe not. I
that's
don't
him.
know.
Yeah, that's him. And then the referee, that was Mick Foley or Mankind. So
Oh,
anyone
nice.
who's
That's cool. I mean, I figured there was like some weird. I figured there was, but I'm
yeah,
wrestling's not my world. So it's like, okay, I guess they're
it's
cool.
quite all right. You're not missing anything, believe me. But yeah, so there was some
Um,
nerd in that for me. But
yeah. I mean, I felt also like obviously it's in today's time. I felt like it could have also been they could have said it 20 years ago. They could have said it 40 years ago. It could have been any time, and that's what I liked about it. It could have been any time,
yep,
and the story would have been the same. Like it almost would have been cool if they took the idea of Huck Finn and made
yep.
it with a Down syndrome. Like why?
That would have been interesting because then you would have had even a probably even a different level of you know, because in that time, in the Huck Finn days, racism, and not that it's
Yeah,
gone, but it was even more rampant. And could there have been, you talk about who are the quote unquote less than. Well, if those guys had seen a kid with Down syndrome running around in the bayous with in his underwear, talking about being a Down syndrome person, and you know, I can't imagine a whole lot of empathy
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I am interested to hear if there was anything about this film that struck you as, you know, um, mm, problematic or severely ableist, or something that you feel like didn't represent this or disability or any of that well. I don't know if I'm
Um,
articulating.
I mean, I think retard was a
Mm,
big hard one for me. I was like, I don't love that, given
mm,
how much work that community in particular has done to be like, this word is harmful. Please don't use it. Like,
mhm,
please. But again, I know there's a stylistic choice. I hope
mhm.
they went to Zach and were like, "Are you okay if we use this word? How do you
Right.
feel about it?" Like, I really hope they did. I have a feeling they didn't, but I really hope that they were like, "Does it? Are you all right if we do this?" Um, I didn't find anything super ableist. Like I was looking and I watched the whole movie like waiting for a super duper ableist moment. I didn't find any, and I was pleasantly surprised that there was not. I mean, the part where Eleanor finds him and starts to like, okay, we gotta go back. Let's go. Let me take you back. And he's
Mhm.
clearly fine with Tyler, and they're friends and they're hanging out now. Like I found that to be true to life because it's her job as the
Right.
representative of the place to be okay. We gotta get you to safety, gotta get you whatever. I also found like if he threw her keys in the lake, she would never just be like, all right, I'll go on the raft with you, whatever. Like she there,
You could go find them.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, to speak to that part, that part hits me so when the part where Eleanor finds Zach and meets up with Tyler and Zach, and you know she goes into caretaking mode, and a lot of the things that she was doing and that she was saying is very easy for caretakers to fall into,
Yeah.
where it I know that it's my job to take care of you, so and you are intellectually disabled, so it's hard to for some people, especially when it's their day in and day out. I would imagine it's very hard for them to not, you know
Default
not
to that.
yeah, default to talking down to, not like you're less than, but like you're not
But
able
just
to.
close enough to less than that it didn't feel like and
Yes.
she got that she was really good. Like Dakota
Yeah.
Johnson
Yep.
was really good at doing that
Hmm.
and really good at like you liked her and you were
Yep.
supposed to like her,
Hmm.
but there was a few moments where I was like, you're annoying, go away. Like, you don't need to be.
You don't need to treat him like that. And I think Shia LaBeouf's character playing on hers did a really good job. Because at the same time, if I was in Eleanor's shoes, I would be going, dude, shut up.
Yeah,
shut up. You don't know Zach. You don't know his story. You don't know who I am. You don't know what's going on. You're just some scuzzy dude that he's, hopping trains with or whatever.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know what he's doing. And you don't know what you're doing. And you're going to get him killed because you've already told me about him getting dragged behind a boat. You've already told me about you guys shooting guns.
I forgot he got dragged behind the boat.
Yeah, that was scary.
Yeah.
But like, so you do, sir, you need to go away because this is my thing to deal with. And he's going, no, I arguably know him better than you do now. And he can do this. He's not out here, he's 22 years old. He can make his own decisions, despite what the state thinks. You guys don't really want to deal with him anyway. You made that
you don't really
first part of the movie.
You put bars in his windows and leave him locked in his room. What does he do all day? Like nothing.
Right.
I would have loved for them to show more of what is it like to care for somebody who has Down syndrome. Like, I would have liked for him to have a moment where Down syndrome overtook him and he was, you know, not necessarily like to mime what it is to be a Down syndrome person, but to like, does he sundown? Does he have issues with like memory stuff?
Yep.
Like, I think, that scene in the grocery store, in the general store where Shia LaBeouf tells him to go wait in the bush. I would have loved it if Zach had gone in and been like, I want this, I want all these things, I want this, and Tyler would have had to say, no, you can't have that, and he freaked out just to show like, okay, maybe you don't really know how to help somebody with Down syndrome, but you're gonna learn.
Good point. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that, but it was almost like when Tyler took to Zach, it's like he had it all figured out immediately. He knew exactly how to care for him. He knew exactly what he needed. He knew exactly how to talk to him. And, the truth is, you probably would not. You're used to, and part of that's good because you're used to talking to non-disabled people. So you're treating them the same way. That's a good thing in most scenarios. And thankfully, in this story, Zach was at a mental state where he could do
all the thing. Like he could swim behind or be dragged behind a shrimp boat and it's fine, and like go in the
and learn how to swim. I mean, he taught him how to swim, so he was at a place where he could do that. But not everybody with Down syndrome is. So that's a good point, that it would have been interesting to see, play in some of the more severe things where perhaps when you're talking to him, he can't respond because he's not sure how.
Yeah.
Or if Tyler had left that grocery store, which that was a really interesting store clerk.
It was really weird. He
was played by that guy, but kind of a creep. But if Tyler had left the store and couldn't find Zach, that could have been interesting too, not to add more drama, but we've had issues with my cousin who runs away, but not because he's ever given any reason or we've been given any reason to think that he doesn't want to be home, but just he goes away from home and then he keeps on walking just because something, he's just interested in what's over there. Yeah. And then pretty soon he gets lost and we've got the police all over town looking for him. That's a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
And, but again, my cousin versus Zach is on a more severe scale. But again, not to get too wordy here, Andrew. I'm not trying to take over.
Please, go ahead. No. It's totally fine. You are the guest. It's your job to take over the show. Take over the show. It's fine.
All right, cool. But now I lost my own train of thought.
Because your cousin is more severe than Zach.
Right. Oh, and that kind of gets you thinking like, okay, but could that be a case of overprotective or over what's the word, like, I don't want to say babying, but yeah, well, like if are my aunt and uncle too what's babying my cousin to the point
Yeah,
where
I know.
he's not able to, it's not the
not
right word,
babying,
but
but it's like just being, you're so concerned, and rightfully so.
yeah,
The world is a trash
overprotective,
fire.
sure. Yeah, to the point where he's never been given the ability to flex those muscles, to exercise those brain muscles, and to progress them in a way that maybe he would be further ahead if they weren't that way. But it's hard to also say that there's anything wrong with loving your kid to the point where you want to take care of them,
Yeah.
to that
I
extent.
mean, I think a lot of disabled folks will understand what it's like to have a parent who, I think it's really hard for the parents of disabled kids or the caregivers of disabled kids, because they've literally had to do everything from help them go to the bathroom, to shower them, to feed them. They literally had to do everything for them for sometimes 40 years. Like when I go visit my mom at home, and if I want to stay the night, she's doing all my care for me. So
Right.
she's very much my mom is very like cool, and is very much of the mindset of like, you're a 40-year-old man, do your own thing. But like, if we're traveling together and she wants to go to bed, I have to, oh, you want to go to bed? Okay, that means I have to go to bed earlier. Let me rearrange my schedule so you can get some rest. And I think like when you take care of somebody with a disability like that, especially with an intellectual disability, you're so much more on guard because you know how the world treats them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, and it's, on the outside looking in, or like, for example, to go back to the film, Tyler looking at Eleanor and going, "You're doing too much. Like, you're like, let him do it. He can do it. He can do it on his own." On the outside looking in, that's all well and good, and it's almost good to be in this scenario for Zach to have, gone under Tyler's tutelage for a little while, because
Yeah.
he's able to look at him with fresh eyes without, thinking, I don't know what his limits are. I don't know what his where those what he struggles with, what those sort of things. I just know that he told me he has Down syndrome, and he's like, "Oh, no kidding? Like, you don't think I could tell that?"
Yeah, yeah.
Like, but he's going, and that doesn't mean anything to me. I'm going to treat you the same. Well, it's nice to have that, and but it's also understandable how Eleanor would come in and go, no, this is new for him. He's not in any state to be out here and being dirty and being,
And like drinking moonshine with you and having a campfire,
yeah.
and like, what are you doing?
Yeah, but you and I talked about Crip Camp and the kids at Camp Gen Ed and everything, and if they watched a film like this and were able to, listening to their stories, they're going, they want to go get crabs, they want to get drunk, they want
I
to,
will never not think that
yeah,
crab story is my favorite. That is my
I know.
favorite thing I've heard of in any documentary ever.
Yep.
I will never get over how
Mhm.
much I love that, but yeah, like I think
Yep. I have
those
crabs, that
experiences,
means I'm having sex, so I'm good.
like I'm fucking, so I'm great. I'm
Yep.
happy. Good.
Right.
I think
Yep.
to show those experiences like on screen, and for this film, like obviously none of that stuff happened, but it would have been cool if Zach had a love interest in the film, or like he was in a home with a girl with Down syndrome who, and they loved each other, or they liked each other, and they went together. Like it would have been cool if I understand why it had to be just the two of them, but it would have been
Yep.
cool if they expanded that a bit. And I know there's a documentary out there. I can't remember or not a documentary. It's a fictional
Mhm.
movie. I saw it at a disability film fest a couple years ago. It's at Ireland, and it's about a bunch of Irish kids with Down syndrome living in a group home who want to fuck, who
Yeah,
want to go get laid, and so they like
that's
escape,
awesome.
yeah, they escape their group home for one night, and they go to buy sex workers, which is awesome, and they go to like spend a night doing all that, and so they have a care worker who's like the lookout, who's like making sure that the people don't see that. And so like that was really cool, but I would have loved to have seen more of that with in this film, more of like Tyler got to have a love interest. Why didn't Zach?
Yeah, and I was about to go there. I was thinking about it when you were talking, and earlier we had mentioned things that I could have done without in this movie. I would have liked it better if Tyler and Eleanor were just friendly to each other,
Yeah,
and it didn't turn into a love interest thing. That was completely unnecessary in my opinion. I get it, but to me, the love story here was the love between
the
Tyler and
bromance between the two of them. Yeah,
yeah, and then the love between Eleanor and Zach. Like it all pivoted on the main
on him.
character who was
Yeah,
Zach, and I would have liked it better. I'm okay with him being attracted to her and seeing her at first before he knows who she is, and let's just say I wrote this movie, he would have hit on her still at the beginning, but then she would have annoyed him, he would have annoyed her, and they would have just been friendly but kind of bantering, bickering
yeah.
the whole
Like,
movie. And it's just a
and
friendship.
they could have been the will they won't. You could have had the will they won't they, and then they never did. And
Yeah.
then like we move on, whatever.
And I'm okay with that, and but so to me that was kind of dumb, honestly, and unnecessary, but it was what it was. At least they didn't lean way too hard into it. But
I mean, it would have kind of been cool if Zach had a crush on her, and then like Zach made a move on Eleanor.
yeah,
I
i'm
can.
interested I'm interested. This is me being naive and not knowing that world much at all, but and I can guarantee that you have thoughts on this, but the um for intellectually disabled in relationships with non-intellectually disabled, is there concerns there? Is there problems there? Is that you get into I would imagine that you get into the idea of, is this just a uh what's the word? Yeah.
Fling or an infatuation or like
Yeah, a fetish kind of thing, or does it matter? I'm kind of curious that if they had made Eleanor and Zach a love interest kind of thing, does that raise eyebrows? Does not in a good way, even in the disabled community?
I mean, I
Like,
think there are issues of consent, but I think that everyone can understand consent if you teach it properly. And I think that if Eleanor was attracted to him and he understood, consent and she understood, she explained it or somebody explained it to him, to both of them. I don't see a problem with it. I mean, to be fair, I've never seen a relationship with a non-disabled person and somebody with Down syndrome. I honestly haven't. I've
I
never
don't think I have, but
seen that
yeah,
depicted or seen it in real life. I'm sure it exists. I'm sure there are people with Down syndrome who are totally with non-disabled people and are great. But
yep,
because we never see it, I think it's fair to think, oh yeah, there would be a consent violation. But I
right,
think if you teach consent, you can teach consent to anybody if you do it the right way.
sure. Yeah, and it probably can't be the person that's trying to get the consent teaching the consent to that person
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
Because I could see, your red flags go off if you're the parent or caregiver of somebody with Down syndrome who does need more care than, you see plenty of Down syndrome. I don't know if it's communities or people with Down syndrome that are able to have fully functioning jobs and go get their own
And
house and do
babies and yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
having babies and whatnot, and everything's great, and truthfully, probably not probably, end up being much happier and more content and more loving and more genuine and more caring than any non-disabled person that I've ever met, which is great. But there are some people out there that is much much more difficult for. So if you've got somebody, and again, forgive my naivety, but is there a spectrum of in Down syndrome? Do you know? Is it like is there like this is going to sound really shitty, but like a little bit Down syndrome versus a lot of bit Down syndrome, or is it just do you know the answer to that? And it's okay.
You know what? I'm not going to speak on it because I don't know too much about it. So no, I don't want to be like, yeah, of course. I don't know. So, but if you're listening and you know, if you're listening and you
Sure, I'd be
are
interested.
somebody with Down syndrome, come on the show and tell me, or we can have you back, and we can have Jeff back, and we can have a whole chat about it. Because
let's just start the regular. This is a new regular thing, Andrew.
yeah, well, you'll just pop on every now and then. It's not a bad idea, actually. This is a really fun, free flowy, like.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm down.
I like that idea. Oh yeah, before I forget, I want to mention the guy who played Ratburn, the skinny, wiry guy.
Yellow Wolf.
Was that who he was? The skinny, wiry one?
Yeah, with all the tattoos?
No, the one who was like, go do all that. The white guy.
The main guy that hit him with the tire iron?
Yeah, that guy.
Okay, never mind.
So he played a wheelchair user in The Sessions back in 2012.
Oh.
And so when I saw him, I was like, interesting that you're in another film about disability. Cool.
Yeah, but this time not playing the disabled person.
Yeah, no, I reviewed that for the show too, and I couldn't stand that they got a guy who wasn't disabled.
Yeah.
Like, and then if you ever watch that movie and review it for the show, obviously it's not a documentary, so you probably won't. But if you did, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's
what movie is this?
The Sessions in 2012. It's about a guy in the 80s named Mark O'Brien who was a disability activist who had never had sex before, and he wanted to get off, and he couldn't get off, and he wanted to get off, and he hires a sex therapist, Cheryl Cohen Green, who's really famous sex therapist / sex worker, and she works with him to, give him a sexual experience, and then he kind of falls in love with her, and then I think he dies at the end. I can't remember. I think he dies at the end. But yeah, it was based on a true story, and they got this guy to play him. And I was watching him yesterday in Peanut Butter Falcon, being like, "Oh, you're in another disability film. At least you're not playing the disabled guy this time."
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's like, the further back in time you go, how often you see, either like what do you like races, that someone who's not the race of the person they're portraying, playing that. Disability is probably a big one because the uneducated Hollywood producers or whatever going, well, we're never going to be able to find someone who can actually act, who, like, okay, but do you know how many people are out there that have disabilities that I'm sure would love the opportunity to show you that they can act, especially if they're having to act like a disabled person because that's their life. Who better
anyway? Right. Yeah.
Right.
I thought
representation with that's being misrepresented. It's kind of shitty. But.
Like, I mean, and it's just like, Hollywood has so much money. Like, that's what I said at the beginning. I'm so glad that they did it the right way, and I'm so glad that they cast a disabled actor. And I'm so glad, there were a ton of problems with the film. They were like that. I was like, okay, all right, sure, but that and that's the very first scene you see, and like, as a disabled person, right away, you're like, okay, where are we? What's going on here? It's obviously about disability. What's going on? And like, that was really refreshing to see as an audience member.
Yep.
One of the dumb parts that made me cry was when they finally go to meet the saltwater redneck. When they finally meet him, who was the guy from Wings like 30 years ago. When they finally go to meet him, and he says to Zach, "Oh, we or he says to Tyler, "Oh, we shut down the school 10 years ago. Like, we don't do it anymore." And see you later. And he says goodbye to Zach and Tyler, and then 10 minutes later he comes out with the car. I was like, "Oh, it's so stupid."
I know.
Oh no, but all right, sure.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you catch yourself being like, I am way more easily like affected by this corny shit than I ever thought I would
Oh
be.
yeah, like I felt a tear and I was like, what is wrong with me? This is really dumb.
Right. But it was so well done, and you feel the excitement in Zach because when he gets to say, I told you
Yeah,
that
yeah. And he's like, I told you
that
it
he
was
was
real.
coming. Yeah, and they're have to nod and be like, "You're right." And there's the childlike joy that you see in not just Zach in this moment, but in a lot of Down syndrome kids or people in their lives is so pure and
Yeah.
so enviable that it's hard not to see that and like you said, get a tear in your eye, but also just be so, it reminds me of when a little kid sees Santa Claus or something, and
Yeah,
it's
that's
this
literally how it felt.
joy, but you get to keep that into adulthood. That doesn't
Yeah.
go away for you. Like that's an enviable thing, and we could learn something from people who are you could, it's hard to even call that a disability, you know what I mean? Like
That's
you may
just
be,
joy.
yeah, you may be ultra able because you're able to feel those things that we all miss. What
Yeah.
you're feeling as nostalgia, these guys are feeling as true, pure, unfiltered
Unfiltered
joy.
joy. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I love it.
I'm definitely when he like roared the car around and they were all in the car singing the song, and you could tell, like, that's what I love, the relationship between Shia LaBeouf and Zach. You could tell when they were in the car and he had his hands up and they were just playing, they were not acting there. There was a moment where I was like, they don't even care about these characters right now. They're just hanging out in this car singing this stupid song, going to this thing. Like they didn't,
Yeah.
and it was really kind of nice to see that.
Yep. And I liked to speak on that. There was several moments in the film where you watch them together and you go, yeah, I have zero problem or zero issue imagining these guys as true friends,
Oh yeah,
because there's the scene where they like are patting each other on the cheeks and they're kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
messing with
yeah.
each other, and it's just one of those little things that you don't write that. I'd like to read the script of Peanut Butter Falcon. Like, does it say he pats him on the cheek and then Zach pats him back, and then they
Yeah,
pat each
yeah,
other?
like that
Like,
that's not
it's
written
not
in.
written in
That
there,
that was like pure friendship. That was them just being,
right?
and that handshake they made up right at the
Yes.
beginning. Zach says, "Oh, we're buds, we're bros. Let's make a handshake."
Yep.
I found myself like, "Oh, that's so nice." Because
I want a handshake.
it's like a disabled kid wanting friends on the playground. Fuck, I'm 40 and I'm disabled and I still have trouble making friends because of
Sure.
disability. So to see that for a minute, I definitely didn't tear up, but I was like, oh, like that's so nice that
Yeah.
he just wants that friendship, even though this guy could be a skis ball, could be like whatever. He's like, nope, I'm in it. Let's have a handshake. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like, there was when he first meets Tyler, he says something to him about like, and I don't remember the exact words, but basically like, do you want to be, friends? Can we be buds?
Yeah,
And
like
he's like,
something like that.
yeah. And it's like to have that level of, uh, I don't know if you want to call it confidence, but just, to just not have that kind of filter and, in your approach to somebody, and it to be reciprocated, you
Yeah,
know, and again, we're suspending some disbelief for this movie because for all intents and purposes, the character of Tyler had no, could have, like you said, it could have been a total skis ball, and he could have had nothing to do with him, or he could have been more of a threat to Zach than he was, and just, yeah, obviously this is a movie, so we're watching this perfect scenario play out,
yeah, yeah,
and but it, when the biggest insult that this man can drum up in his head is "You're not invited to my birthday party."
I thought that was so cool when he's at the wrestling ring with the guy. He's like, "You're not invited to my birthday party." I was like, "Oh, this is great."
Yeah, and which leads to the corniest scene in the whole thing, where he lifted up Jake the Snake and throws him.
I thought that was so funny. I was like, "That's so dumb, but it's so cool." But whatever. All right, sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Do you mind if we jump to the end? I want to ask you a question about.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm just because, so spoiler alert, right? With what happens to Tyler's character at the end. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
He gets beat up in the head. He gets hit with a tire iron.
Did you think he was dead?
No, I didn't think he was dead. I thought they just whacked him in the head. For some reason, I didn't think he was dead, because I was like, they wouldn't do this to this poor guy who through the whole movie has been saying, "I have no family. I want a family. They're my family." Like, they wouldn't. That's just too much to put this poor guy through.
When I first watched this, I definitely thought he was gone, and I'm sure that's what they wanted you to think, and I fell for it, but I was like, this is. I was really actually pretty upset, going, yeah. Is it unrealistic that he survived a beatdown like that? Sure, whatever. But like, at least he still got Eleanor and blah 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 blah. But I was sitting there going, this is kind of a dumb way to end it. If you're gonna end it with him losing the best thing that's happened to him,
Yeah.
And yes, I'm glad that Shia LaBeouf's character was still alive at the end. They show him for half a second, all beat up in the back of the car.
And they hold hands. Think, "Are they look, we're in Florida." I kind of like that ending, though. I like that. I really, in a lot of disability film that I've watched, there's a big moment at the end where they're like, "Oh yeah, your disability doesn't mean anything. Whatever. I see you as a person. Blah blah blah. Barf. Whatever. That bullshit." In this movie, they didn't do any of that. They were like, "Oh, we're going to Florida. That's it. Done." And I was like, there's no big like savior moment. There was no big moment where the able-bodied characters like changed said, "Oh yeah, you're disabled and I love you." Like, none of that bullshit. They were like, "Oh, we're going to Florida, whatever." I like that.
We're just gonna go have life now.
Yeah.
And we became friends, the three of us, and partners, or whatever you want to say, and we've got a little family now. We're just gonna go live, and then that's the end of the movie, which is, I agree with you, is great. And I
mean, there could have been a whole extended cut of like, how is Eleanor going to take care of him? What is this? What are the state rules of that? What does the court say? Like, there should have been something about that, because like, realistically, you can't just take him to Florida and start a life. There needs to be like, what?
Right, and they did it immediately, because he was still in his hospital bandages. So you technically are kind of kidnapping now, because you just took someone who's still in custody, in state custody, or I guess that we never really knew that for sure, but it's implied that he is in some sort of state custody, because he's in that home. And so if Shia LaBeouf's still in his bandages from the hospital, and they're driving to Florida, and he's still wearing his Gravedigger shirt, which he's been wearing the whole movie, then that means that this is directly next in the timeline.
Right after, like 5 seconds after he was discharged, they're like, "Bye," or he wasn't even discharged. I have a disability story about the hospital and not being discharged properly. So when I a couple years ago, I got sick. I have gastric reflux problems, and I was in the States, and I got sick, and I was puking up bile. It was a real fun time. And so I was in Florida, in a Florida hospital, and the minute you walk in a Florida hospital, they ask you, "How are you paying?" And I'm from Canada, so I was stupid and didn't get insurance. And
I don't know.
And I didn't think about that because I was sick, right? So we're in the hospital, and every day that I was in the hospital, they would check on me and say, "How are you paying?" And I'm sick. I'm trying to recover. Like, what the fuck? This is not cool. And they then were like, "Okay, we want to do gallbladder surgery on you, so you're okay." And they were about to do the surgery, and as soon as I was well enough, my family was like, "We're taking you out of the hospital. We're flying you back to Canada, where healthcare is free. We are making sure you get to hospital there, and we're not paying these fees." Like, so I've done the thing where you like secretly run away from the healthcare system and don't say anything.
Hell yeah, that's so punk rock. You're like, fuck you guys. You still have your hospital gown on,
Well,
and
no,
you're
because if they wanted to do gallbladder surgery there, and I had no insurance, it would have been at least $50,000, probably more.
oh
Um,
yeah, probably more. Yeah,
so we were just like, as soon as I was stable, I remember I still had the drains in me. I had all the things in me still. We had me in like pants and a little shirt, and I got on the plane, and I was not well at all. But like my dad made sure I was okay, and we hijacked me to
did they put you like in a Hoyer lift and put you down? They lower you down the window and like to the first floor and like put you in a sketchy van and like like anything like
No,
that.
well, I mean, oh, to get me out of the hospital. Yeah, no, they like threw me in the car and like and we just
Yeah,
hightailed it to the airport. But
yeah.
like I definitely remember like yeah, running from the hospital and not like not and just not worrying about it. So when he ran, like I can understand why Zach run too, because if Zach
Mhm.
had stayed, they would have put him in state care where, there's that point in the movie, and again, listeners, we're going all over the place, so please watch the movie before you listen to this because you don't know what we're
Right.
talking about. So when they're in the diner and the guy calls her and says, "No, no, we have to get him into state care," and she says, "No, no, murderers and
Right.
prostitutes and all these people are there. We can't put him there." And the guy's like, "Well, there's nothing we can do. We'll have to process him tomorrow." Like they were running so that he wouldn't have to have that life, which makes me think about how many disabled people in the States and in Canada and the world are like, fuck it, we're not going to use state care because you're gonna institutionalize this person.
Right.
We'll just
Mhm.
figure it out.
Yeah, and it would have gone a long way in this film though if you know even if it wasn't you show a quick couple second thing of Eleanor signing a piece of paper and handing it to somebody where you can
Yeah,
imply that this is somehow me getting, caretaker or guardianship of, or I don't know, the something like that, where it's like we're not running from the law, but I mean, it's a fictional film, so you don't have to cover all your bases. We're
yeah,
okay
yeah.
not
But
knowing
like,
them, but
when you're watching it from a critical eye, you're like, "Well, what do you mean you're just gonna
yeah,
take him to Florida and not what? What? Okay."
right. So are you running from the law for the rest of your life, or are you yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
And like, do you really think that you and Shia LaBeouf are gonna stay together for more than like maybe 6 months, and then he's gonna not go back?
yeah,
Do you really think that you're gonna be? I don't like
right.
whatever.
Yeah, so this couple day journey that you took, you guys know that you're lifelong partners now, and you can take care of someone who might need your help
Like
longer than a couple
extended
weeks.
care.
You're
Yeah,
still
yeah.
interested. Yeah, yeah. Like I don't know if that's very realistic. That's why we need Peanut Butter Falcon 2, like
To
the
what
rise of
happened in court after like.
yeah,
But again, that's kind of the magic of that film, was that it wasn't, and I liked that a little bit too. And I have to say I liked it because they didn't go into all of the big questions that I was watching it critically and you were watching it
right.
like
Mhm.
we were watching it to see like how does this go, and they didn't do any of that, which is kind of nice. That they just
Yeah,
was like, no,
yep.
disabled people deserve a buddy film. We're gonna give them
Yeah.
we're gonna do it.
That's true. A lot of films and media that we see around disabilities and whatnot, it focuses pretty hard on the logistics of things, probably, and how this works. But we just got it's okay to tell this story for the sake of this story, and forget all the details. Jeff and Andrew, stop worrying about all the the little details, like this wouldn't really work, this wouldn't really work. Well, I could probably bring up hundreds of movies that are feel good movies that would never really work, but we still enjoy them because it lets us put ourselves that
Happy
into that
place.
place. And
Yeah.
yeah, and it's fiction and it's feel good, and overall I thought this film was really well done. And I also am a big fan of the acting of John Bernthal, who never had any single speaking parts in this film, but he was the older brother in all the memories.
Oh yeah, I recognized him from somewhere. I was like, I recognize that dude. I thought he was cute, so I was like, who is that cute brother guy?
Yeah. He played Shane in The Walking Dead, and he was the Punisher in the Netflix series.
Oh, nice. Yeah, okay, that's where I recognize him from, The Walking Dead. Then,
Yeah.
This movie kind of if we're thinking about classic buddy movies, this movie felt very Stand by Me.
Oh yeah.
Like,
That's
what it felt like when I was watching this movie. Like Stand by Me, hardcore.
Yep, crossing the train tracks and
yeah, and like,
but this one was a river. We got to get off to the side of the train tracks before the train hits us. Well, this one was I got to pull you across the river before
the shrimp boat kills you. Yeah. And I thought there were a lot of nods to like again the whole buddy comedy thing, and I thought it was shot nice, and you could tell that they didn't have a huge budget, and they were just like, all right, well, just that's why it's gonna be set. Like, why wouldn't he steal a car? Right. Why is he gonna walk from one place to one place?
Florida.
Like,
right. Well, because we don't have a budget, so here we go. There was a couple spots that made me laugh out loud, some of which we already talked about, but the comedy, like the timing of some of the comedy, especially from Zach, was like spot on.
Oh yeah, no, he's a funny dude.
Yeah, so when Shia LaBeouf's talking about the rules of following him, and he's like, rule number 1, I'm in charge. Rule number 2, don't slow me down. Rule number 3, whatever, or be quiet. And he's like, what's rule number 1? And he goes, party. and, like, just without question, that was rule number 1. Like, yes, that's.
And he's like, yeah, rule number 2 is what? Don't slow me down.
Yeah. And then so that made me laugh. And then the part that you mentioned earlier when he threw Eleanor's keys in the lake, and he's just looking back at her, and she's looking at him like, oh my God, you just threw my keys in the lake, and he just starts dancing. Like, look what I just did.
I got it. Yeah.
So good.
Well, that's why I thought it was so funny. Like, because in real life, there was no way that the woman that she'd be like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go on your raft now. What? Like, no.
Yeah, she's probably on the phone with the place at that point, going, okay, meet me here, because this some psycho drifter has got Zach, and we're stuck.
Yeah, like that's also like it would have been better too if they had, and again, we suspended our disbelief, but like,
sure.
Wouldn't she do a background check on him? Wouldn't she be like, and you are, and your name, and like, who are you? Like, what? Before you start making out with him in the car, do you want to know who you're making out with? Like, what? Who is this guy? You don't know.
Right. You jumped right to the fuzzy handcuffs, and
yeah. Wow. Oh yeah, I forgot about those. They were in there. Yeah. I wonder if then the blind guy right close to the beginning, the blind guy that holds him up with the gun. Was he? Yeah. I wonder if he was an actual blind guy. I was hoping he was.
That's a good question. We should totally look that up. That is a great question.
Yeah, we should.
I feel like. Are you gonna look it up?
I'm gonna Google it. I'm gonna see if.
Yes.
Blind guy.
In Peanut Butter Falcon.
Blind guy, peanut butter. Peanut.
It would be so. Before we know, it will be really interesting to know. Like, you guys did such a good job casting a Down syndrome character with somebody who has Down syndrome, and you have another disability in this film. Did you cast them with somebody with that disability?
And we are about to find out. Let's find out right now. The answer is,
drum roll,
Wayne DeHart. But does it tell me if he's blind? No. It just says,
is Wayne DeHart blind?
Yeah, now I have to do another. Is Wayne? Oh, speaking of like facts about the movie, that was really cool. He, in 2019, Zach, when he went to the Oscars, he was a presenter at the Oscars. He was the first person with Down syndrome to ever present an Oscar.
No shit.
Yeah.
do you know? Did you see like what did he present? And
I can't remember. I didn't see the clip, but I saw like he didn't win that year. He was nominated. He didn't win, but he presented to somebody, and I was like, "That's so cool that
yeah,
they
that's
did
great.
that."
Yeah, and the um, I know this movie did really well on like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff. So was it nominated for like Academy Awards and stuff?
I
You
think so.
know?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
sweet. I didn't know that. I knew it had a high rating on the tomato meter, but
It doesn't say if he's blind or not, which is really annoying.
I feel like it would say it if he
It
was.
doesn't say on IMDb. Let me just look one more time.
Using my phone as a webcam right now, so I would look on my phone if I could, but I can't.
It says that it doesn't say that he is or not. It's in like all these things I'm seeing. There's a
Normally, wouldn't you think that if an actor does have a disability, that's usually like one of the first lines in their bios? Doesn't it seem
you'd
like
think
that's
so.
what people focus on?
I'm gonna just put in is Wayne the Heart blind. Uh, 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 don't think so. He doesn't say directly he's not, but also he was in a not that he couldn't have been in a bunch of films, but he's been in a bunch of films like RoboCop 2
Okay.
and Prison Break. So I'm gonna just pretend again, not saying that a blind person couldn't be here, but
Right.
I'm just going to yeah, I'm not gonna say that, but I'm gonna look one more time to just make sure before I say something horribly ableist. Wait.
Right.
Um
So here's the question then. If Wayne DeHart is not actually blind, why make his character in this film blind? I don't think that there was anything in this film that that required him to be a blind character, that it wouldn't have just have been
no,
just
he
a
could have just
back,
been an old preacher.
yeah, an old backwoods guy that baptizes people.
I don't understand why it doesn't say. Like it's literally I've looked at 3 websites now and it's literally not telling me if he's blind. There's I mean, I hope he is. Hope they did right by the
For,
you can't
not to hope blindness on Wayne, but for the sake of this movie, I hope he's blind.
I hope that they I almost had a
Yeah.
spasm and threw my mic out the room. I hope that they did I hope that I don't know. I don't know. But
Yeah.
you think they would you think they would. Fingers
It's
crossed.
yeah, you've got a movie that you're doing so well so far, and you missed a big opportunity if you if you skipped that one. Just don't make his character blind if he's not blind.
Yeah, just make him a backwoods preacher. I would have believed that and that's
Right.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing that he asked was, "Are you black?" And they're like,
And they were
"No."
like trying to they were a minute there, they were like, what are we gonna say? And then
Yeah. Are you God fearing?
yep.
Yeah. We sure are.
God's
Well,
good.
come on in then. I mean, not a bad character, but again, that's a good point. I never even thought about that. Like, was
Well, you know,
he
the old myth they can't how dare they have 2 disabled characters in one scene, in one movie? How dare they
true?
do it?
True. Is that a thing? Is that like something that you notice? Like they if there's a disabled person, that there's never two disabled people
Oh
on
yeah, it's a
film?
running joke. Like, you know,
Okay.
on buses and stuff, there's usually only one spot for a disabled person. There's only
Uh-huh.
in movie theaters, there's usually only one spot for a wheelchair user. God forbid you'd have like
A
2
friend.
disabled friends hanging out. Like, oh no, like what?
Right. Yeah, and whenever there's like this is completely off topic, but you know, I'm interested to know, like, is it empowering, or does it feel good, or does it feel like the token disabled person when you see like commercials, or like the group of kids on the cartoon and one of them's in a wheelchair? Is it like, okay, cool, representation, I love it? Or is it like, oh, you put the token disabled kid in, good job to you?
Well, when I see that in TV and movies, it did for
Sure.
me. It's like if they put the poor kid in the sad hospital wheelchair.
Yeah.
And you're like, in real life, the kid would be in a real wheelchair that was not rickety, that was like made for him. What are you doing?
Yeah. That makes sense.
So yeah, I think that those are, but to answer the larger question, I sometimes like being the only disabled person in the room. I think there are times when it's called for, and there are times when it's great to be in a group. I love it when I'm the only one. I went to last year, about around this time, I went to a big award show in the UK. I flew down there and I was asked to be a part of in the room, and I was the only person in a wheelchair in the room.
Yeah.
And I loved it because I was like, good. Like,
good. I get to represent by myself.
Yeah. Like, it's me.
I trust myself, so I get to represent it. And now I get the attention for that. And I get, I could see that.
There are moments where it's nice. And so I think that, like I was saying earlier, maybe Zach should have a girlfriend. Maybe not. Maybe it's nice to just have like one central character that is doing it. But I would watch Peanut Butter Falcon 2. And I want to see, like, okay, a year down the line, how are they doing? What's are Eleanor and Tyler broken up?
When did Zach leave to get milk and never come back?
Yeah.
Or not Zach, Tyler.
Yeah, when Tyler disappeared and find another girl at the store that he liked and then didn't. Right. Yeah.
Tyler drank too much moonshine and never stopped drinking it.
Yeah, I found it kind of like when he says to him, how about the movie, he goes, oh, my ankle hurts, and then Tyler goes, oh, I'll drink this, you'll feel better. I was like, dude, you can't give the guy with Down syndrome moonshine and tell him it's medicine and it's fine. Like, what? Yeah,
and we never really got any clarification on why his ankle was hurting, did we?
Yeah, he just said my ankle hurts, and he's like, oh, drink this. What? You couldn't have gone back to that store and gotten like a Tylenol for the kid?
Yeah, like, some aspirin.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. I guess
they should have said it like 30 years behind, because him having moved behind the desk in 2019 feels kind of weird. Like, why do you?
That's true. Why? But I'll bet there are places down south that you're probably more likely to find homemade moonshine than aspirin.
That's true. Well, that is true. That is true. What did you think? Did you want Saltwater Redneck to be more involved with Zach, or did you like how they were? Did you like that? Because Zach's whole motivation in the movie is to meet this guy, and they had maybe like all we saw was like maybe 2 to 5 minutes of them interacting, and then that was it. How did you feel about that?
I think that it was pretty well spaced out, well timed. I'm glad they didn't spend too much time with him, because it would have been too, Zach's got his new hero, so to speak. He's got his new friend. The guy who he thought was going to be his friend, Saltwater Redneck, thankfully he was a good enough dude. That was a nice part in the film. He felt for the kid. He taught him, even though he had closed his school down. It gave him a little bit of pride to have a little protege. That's great. But this wasn't a redemption story for Saltwater Redneck. This was an adventure story for Zach and Tyler. So, like, if they had spent more time with him, it almost like, takes. I think it may have taken away some of the specialness of Tyler and Zach's relationship.
Yeah.
And because his role model or his idol, whatever, was Saltwater Redneck. Well, there's no way that it almost feels too
after school, especially
Yes. If everyone that he escapes from this thing, and everyone that he runs into is a really good person who's really accepting and really awesome, like, that's almost too far to suspend the disbelief. So,
and I think that's what they were trying to do with Jake the Snake, but it didn't play very well. Like, I'm like, when he got mad, I was like, what are you mad about? There's no conflict between the two of you.
Right.
He hasn't done anything to you. Why are you all of a sudden pulling out the arm?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Right. And I actually kind of liked that when when Peanut Butter Falcon first walks out into the wrestling arena and they're all just looking at him like, what? To me, that was more realistic. It's like Tyler's over there going, yeah, come on, buddy, you got this. And everyone's like, this isn't some charity thing. This is our hobby and whatever. And, but then they started chanting Peanut Butter Falcon, and I'm going, you've got a lot of accepting people in these backwoods Arkansas or wherever you're at that, so to me that felt a little bit much. I even could have done as much as I liked the scene for some reasons, I even could have done without the whole wrestling match scene.
Yeah, it felt unnecessary.
It did. And like, it could have stopped at saltwater redneck's not doing the thing. He puts on his costume, comes, picks him up, teaches him how to wrestle a little bit, and that was the end of it. Then they move on. Yeah. That would have still, I think, scratched the itch for Zach, but also showed him that life's not just going to go be this perfect thing, but you still got your new friend you just made, the woman who's cared for you for a while.
2 years.
And now we're all a big family now, and we're all great.
Makes no sense, but I'm never going to be okay with like, what? Sure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other parts of it that I like. Is there anything else that you wanted to bring up?
Let me think. We talked about the kid getting punched in the face. We talked about the moonshine guy at the grocery store. Rat Boy,
the part where Zach says to Tyler, and they're having the moonshine, and he says to him, "Oh, my family doesn't want me." Like, Tyler doesn't question that. He goes, "Oh yeah, okay, like no big deal. Well, all right." Like, no, like, what do you mean your family doesn't? What do you mean? Like, if you had somebody with Down syndrome out in the fucking backwoods wherever they were, wouldn't you be like, "What do you mean your family doesn't want you? Tell me more. I would need to know more about this."
Yeah. I feel like I probably would. Like, oh, that's a bummer, dude. Should we talk about that?
Yeah,
that seems like something that could be a topic of conversation. I mean,
like, why didn't they? It's funny because the audience knows that Tyler's brother died in the car crash, but Zach has no idea that Tyler's brother died.
Good point. That's a good point. I didn't think about that either. We all know that happened, but nobody else does.
Yeah, the whole audience is like, what? We know, but Zach has no clue, and neither does Eleanor, and no, yeah. Why didn't there were some threads in there that I was like, this doesn't make no sense. What?
Yeah, they feel like those threads should have been pulled, but they never were.
Like, wouldn't it have been better if at the end of the movie, right as they're leaving the hospital and they're like high-fiving in the car, shouldn't Tyler have said to Zach, "You're my brother now," or something to tie it in more?
Yep. Or, if at some point, Eleanor's questioning why he's being so good to Zach, and he says, "Because I lost my brother and he's felt like a brother to me, and I'm able to repay the kindness that my brother showed me," or something along the lines that puts it together and gives him the opportunity to at least insinuate to the audience
his brother.
That I'm telling the story to Eleanor and Zach. And even if it's not telling the whole story, it's like, I lost a brother, and now, like you said, now you feel like you are my brother or something.
Because otherwise the flashbacks, which probably cost them a lot of money to do, what are they for if no one knows why?
Arguably the most expensive part of this film was the flashbacks that had John Bernthal in them and Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
You're paying the two biggest names in the film, probably, and they're almost pointless.
Using it as a story plot point for anybody else but the audience.
Right. It'd be interesting to have read the original script to this and see, did they cut things out? Was there something hit the cutting room floor that we
Yeah, they must have, because it didn't. Yeah. That part didn't flow for me. It didn't work. Yeah. Like, he definitely should have been like, "You're my brother now, Zach," and the end of the film. There you go, done. Or like, they could have just called the movie Brothers, and then I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Something as simple as that could have put it all.
Peanut Butter Brothers. Or, I don't know.
Yeah. Whatever. Peanut Brothers.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Peanut Butter Falcon.
Listen, Hollywood, call us. We can.
Right.
We still do.
We are script writers right now. Or they could have done a callback if at the end, when they're driving to Florida, if Eleanor starts falling asleep in the car and they start to drive, and then it goes to credits.
Yeah, I like that idea.
That's morbid, but
that would have been a little. Well, if it turned into a horror comedy, then maybe.
Right. Yeah. If Tyler died when he got beat up by the one dude, and then they drift off the road because she falls asleep at the end and they all die.
Yeah, horror credit. I like this. Yeah,
credits roll.
Yeah.
And then I think I mentioned it before, but the dude with all the tattoos that was a terrible actor, that's a rapper, some redneck rapper.
Like a big rapper, because I had no idea who he was.
Yeah, his name's Yellow Wolf. He's got a following, but I don't know.
Cool.
I don't care about him. Doesn't do nothing for me.
They couldn't have gotten Common or somebody?
Well, they probably couldn't afford Common, would be my guess.
True, yeah, he's famous now.
And Yellow Wolf has I don't know if it's a gimmick or a shtick, or I don't know his backstory, where he's from or anything. It's kind of a redneck kind of shtick. So
he was really good. That guy was really good at kicking people in the face with dirt.
True. Yeah, and spitting in their face. Yeah. And there was, I don't know if you've ever heard of the musician called While.
I haven't.
There's a scene where right at the beginning, when Tyler is in there, he's like scaling a fish in that market, and then that dude comes and talks to him. And he tells him to turn the music down or whatever.
Yeah.
The song playing in the background's one of my favorite musicians named While. So shout out to Coulter if anyone's listening.
Cool. Hey, Coulter, if you're listening to this little show that you probably will never stumble on. Thanks. Cool. Good for you.
But we've already said While a few times. So if a transcript comes out, then if he Googles his own name, it might fall upon his own.
Yeah, maybe.
Coulter While.
Hey, listen, While, if you want to give us 5 stars, please. 5 stars. Speaking of stars, I think
there you go.
Do you have any final thoughts on the film? Any little?
No, I think we covered pretty much the thing. We uncovered some things that to me didn't occur to me as being somewhat problematic, or not problematic, but you pick apart movies and all of a sudden you start finding the things that didn't make much sense. So, but I still rate this up there with one of. I honestly think this is probably one of my favorite movies. I actually told my wife after we finished watching it, like, I don't have any bad feelings after I watched that. I liked how that turned out. I don't walk away from that going, oh, that was rough or anything,
Yeah, like there was nothing there, and that's kind of why it holds up. And yeah, it's silly, and yeah, I get all that, but like, It was a nice, simple buddy movie, and it happened to talk about disability a little bit.
Yep.
Now, I would have loved to have seen this movie. Could you imagine if, parting thought, could you imagine if Zach was a wheelchair user? How the fuck would they have gotten anywhere?
Things. Right, that would have changed things for sure.
How would they have gotten in the bush, and how would they
He would have never made it. You could have greased him up as much as possible, and he wouldn't have gotten through.
He couldn't. Window. Yeah, there's no way.
It would have been over before it started.
Exactly. So listen, Peanut Butter Falcon 2.5. Call me.
Yeah. So you and I star in a movie where I will be. Let's see. We'll put it in. Maybe we can do it futuristic. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So instead of backwoods like Arkansas, North Carolina, wherever they were, we'll do it like futuristic, like apocalyptic world.
Okay.
And I am some renegade, Mad Max style. And you are, let's see, help me out here.
I'm excited to hear my random facts right now. Yeah.
You are, let's see, if we're going Peanut Butter Falcon style, you are a mechanic.
Okay.
Helping to build robots, and you have actually created.
I'm an android mechanic.
Yep. You've created yourself a chair of some sort that helps you to get around.
It's a hover chair. It doesn't.
What's hover? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking more like animatronic, like legs, like.
Well, both of those, both can be true.
Spider style legs, like you have 6.
So like Wild West, like the when.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and somehow we'll meet up and we'll become besties as we're like escaping some tyrant or something.
I'm here for this weird. let's make it. I have no money or budget or connections, but let's.
Me neither. I've got a microphone.
Yeah, me too. It could be a podcast. It could be a.
Oh, the audio cast, like the
like a what is it called? The
audiobook kind of.
Yeah, like audiobook adventure.
Yep.
Adventure thing. That's actually not a bad idea. We should workshop that out.
I'm into this. All right, cool.
It'd be silly and nobody will listen, but we'll have it forever.
I don't know, man. Hey, did I tell you? I don't think I did. I after you were on my show, Talkumentary, and we posted, and I posted a reel of us, and I posted the thing, and then you posted like a link to our show on your thing, and I got a message from one of my friends who I haven't talked to in forever, and her name is Erin, and she'll probably listen to this, but she messages me and goes, "Holy shit, your show just got a shout out by capital THE, the Andrew Gurza, she said, the disabled queer what'd she call you?
Triple
she
something?
basically, yeah, she well, it was like the king of disabled queer what kind of, help me with the word,
media, whatever,
yeah, something like that. And I was like, yeah, he's a really cool dude. And she has a son who has the cerebral palsy, and so she's a fan of yours and your show and all that. And
that's so nice.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm like fangirling over here because I'm seeing this whole thing, and I'm seeing him
just like, oh, he just seemed like a nice dude. I didn't know all this.
Yeah, he's a really good dude. Yeah. So I told her, I said, watch out because I'll be on his show here somewhat soon. And
Erin, if you're listening and you want to come on the show and fangirl or bring your son, we can.
Yes.
We can do it. We can do PG. How old is her son?
I have no idea, honestly. Again, I haven't
okay.
talked to her. I didn't even know she had a son with cerebral palsy until she told me because you were on our show.
So. Erin, if you're listening, we'll do a kids-friendly episode or not. Whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do. I don't know.
Or we don't have to have him on it, and you guys can just chat about all the good stuff, and then I can
also listen. That. So be in touch with one of us, and yeah, that's cool. We went off on a huge fucking day. I don't even know what. I think we're done. So
welcome to talking to Jeff Kolaski, and he cannot stay on topic.
I like that we went
all over the place.
It's fun. Yeah. Usually when I do this, I have like 5 pages of notes, and I read the notes, and then that's the show. This is a nice, like, let's go all over the place and let's not follow any kind of like trajectory. Let's just go.
Absolutely. I've enjoyed this very much. I appreciate you having me on. And
we talked about it jokingly, but you're welcome back anytime to do another of these.
Thank you. Yeah. I would absolutely love to. And as I'm watching cinema throughout forever now, I will keep my ears and eyes open for something that maybe we can chat about again. So
yeah, we definitely should. I mean, I have feelings about a couple movies actually. That have you seen? Again, anyone who doesn't listen anymore, you can say goodbye. But whatever.
Yeah, it's whatever. We'll still talk.
Yeah. Have you watched Poor Things yet?
Poor Things?
Yeah, with Emma Stone and.
Oh no, but that's the one that she keeps showing up with like strange glasses on or something?
Yeah, and she's a baby. She's a woman who, long story. There's a whole bunch of disability related stuff that's problematic.
Okay.
You should go to the theater, or when it's downloadable, you should watch it and see and I'd love to know your thoughts.
Okay.
I have a lot of them.
Is she disabled in the movie?
No, but she's playing. There's a lot of parallels to ableism that I didn't love. Anyway, but it's for a whole other show. So out of 5 power chairs, how many power chairs would you give Peanut Butter Falcon?
Oh man, I didn't think about the rating. Do I rate? Is there any specifications for this rating, or is it kind of arbitrary?
No, it's just.
Okay. I love this. To me, it's some of my top cinema just because it makes me feel good, and I like a lot of the themes throughout it. I would give this I'll just give it a 5 power chairs because
wow.
Yeah, why not?
I'll give it a 4.2 because I had some. For me, I was like, well, okay, there's some ableism that I don't love. Basically, the R word has to drop it down a few points. I didn't super love it.
You had to remind me about that, didn't you? Can I retract?
Yeah, do it again.
Okay. I'll give it 4.5 power chairs.
Okay, yeah. I'm still gonna go with 4.2. 4.2 for me. Jeff Kalaski, this is so fun.
Yeah, it was.
I definitely want to do this again. We should do a side show. We should do
Let's do it.
Let's do that audio. Let's do that pod thing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that sounds fun. Why does that sound fun all of a sudden?
I really want to do that. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. And parting note, I don't know if you know this, which you don't because I've never told you this, but I do not like popcorn.
What?
And here's another funny thing. I married a woman who also does not like popcorn.
And did you know this before you married her?
Well, before I married her, yes, but before I met her, no.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I need that.
How would I know that about her before I met her? But
I need to understand. How do you what?
Yeah. So it is.
There's so many questions around what kind of psychopath are you that you don't like popcorn?
Well, it's a texture thing, really.
Okay. All right. Is there some ADHD
flavor? Maybe. I don't. Nothing like bad. It's just I don't like the kernels. I don't like the sound it makes when I bite into it. I don't like the aftertaste. It's just a strange thing for me.
So when you go to the movie theater to watch an ableist film, you will eat.
I will eat. So I usually get a slushy or like an icy. Okay. And if I'm gonna eat anything, it's probably like snack related stuff. It's usually like a Reese's Pieces or something like that.
All right. You want me to back over with Reese's Pieces?
Okay.
Best podcast in the world. How does it?
For sure.
This podcast, we've gone off the rails. We finished about like a million minutes ago. So if you're still with us, thank you for all the tangents you followed us on, because I don't know how we got here. But
is there a podcast called Tangent? Because if there's not, I think we just found the name for our.
I mean, let's Google that. Is there a podcast? Wait, I need to know now.
I love it that I keep derailing your show.
It's so much. It's so fun because I usually have it so structured. This is actually nice to not have to worry about it. Is there a podcast
called Tangent?
Tangents. There's a whole bunch with the word tangent in it,
but not just tangent.
There might be one with tangent in it. There might be.
Well, they just got a few hits thanks to us.
Well, yeah. So tangent people. Yeah, there's one called Tangents. Boo.
Okay, well,
we're so close.
But we'll spell it with a Z at the end.
Yeah, we'll make it cool, and it'll be like 2 T's and whatever.
Yeah. Okay, you can do your outro now, and I promise I won't interrupt.
Okay. So before I do the outro is Jeff Kalaski. How do the people how do they get a hold of you? How do they support your show? How do they follow you?
Sure. So we at Talkumentary you can find us at Talkumentary Podcast pretty much on anything. Spotify, Apple, all the big name podcast stuff. We also have a YouTube account. We do video of most of our more recent episodes. We don't do Patreon or anything. We don't have ads on our show, so we're just, you don't have to listen to any of that to get through us. So if that's good,
you do for me, folks. You do for me. Thank you.
Yeah, but you have good ones like Clona Willy and shit. So
yeah, that's true. I do. Thank you, Clona Willy, for being such a cool company. Thank you.
Yeah.
But also buy ad space on Talkumentary. Do it. They need money.
Yeah, that would be fun. I mean, I would love that. But no, we don't let's see. YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook are the ones that I normally post on, and that's how you find us.
All right, I'll make sure that all this is in the show notes.
You're the best.
This is so fun. I'm kind of annoyed that we have to stop now. This is really fun.
Yeah, man. I've really enjoyed this, and anytime we'll do it again. I think we have future plans now.
Yeah, I seriously think that weird, what is it called? It's like an audio series. It's like a podcast.
Yeah.
There's a name for it. I forget what it is. Anyway, we're going to do that, and we're going to talk about that off the air because you guys don't want to listen to this anymore. So thanks for coming on Disability After Dark. Here's the outro. Bye.
Bye.